she's a wonderful woman. She's a great personality and everybody loves her.
Really charismatic, really amazing person, so generous, and I've never heard her say anything bad about anybody ever.
She's a great personality, so it's a person that's worth, those people are worth knowing.
I could just turn to her. She just made me feel safe. She made me feel she cares.
Well, I was born 60 years ago in the London hospital. I grew up in a place called Watney Street, although it's nothing like when I grew up. It was fantastic. You had a great big market, you had from Cable Street to the end of Commercial Road. You had all fabulous butchers, fruit stalls, fish stalls, Sainsbury's, caters. It was an amazing place. I was one of 3 children. My mum had a baby blown out of her pram, which was my sister Colleen. I had an older brother and sister, Maureen and Tony, so I was quite spoiled. Treasured, I suppose, because my mum had this terrible thing happen. I was spoilt rotten. My mum was quite well off. She had paper pitchers, she was a florist. But when I was 5, my mum bought me this, I can remember it, she bought me this great big red bike, 3-wheeler bike, and I fell off. And I dislocated my hip, so I was in hospital for 2 years, which I loved. I was spoilt rotten. And I cried I remember crying when my dad brought me home and I wanted to go back to the hospital, you know, because I'd known it for 2 years. And I suppose in them days, hospitals were fantastic. You know, a lot different to they are now. Well, I remember going with my mum at like 2 o'clock in the morning to Covent Garden, buying, I mean, when you're a kid, it's so exciting to go out at 2 o'clock in the morning to buy flowers. And I remember she used to bring lots of flowers to where I grew up in Watney Street, and she'd start making all these buttonholes, and I suppose my mum really would have liked me to have gone into that. But you never do what your mum wants, you know. But I've always had a feel for flowers because of my mum, you know. I've always had an eye for flowers. My brother, who died, and Dennis came to me and said they wanted a pub. I was terrified. And everyone said to Dennis, Den, you'll be great. Sandra will be useless. Because I suppose I was not as outgoing as I am now. And I was scared. I mean, in them days you had to go for interviews, you were shortlisted, and they said, just come and see this pub in Commercial Street. And I said, I really don't want a pub in Commercial Street. You know, I had a sick baby, I had Sarah and Katie, and I just didn't think it was right to have a pub. And I came one lunchtime with Den and Tony. Oh, I wanted this pub so much. I just walked in the door, Phil, in the saloon bar and fell in love with it. I fell in love with it. And we were lucky to get it, you know. And that's when you had Truman's Brewery in Brick Lane, which is fantastic. I dreaded Dennis going out because I had no clue on how to change a barrel. I was terrified. And I used to run over the brewery and say, please help me, I can't change the barrel. And they'd come over. I mean, it was, you would not believe how fantastic it was. Well, you know, because you've lived around here a long time, but it was fantastic. You had the brewery, you had the market, you had the flower market. You had thriving businesses around here. You had all the Jewish tailors opposite. We were all friendly with them. It was fantastic, you know. You had Mr. Saga. He owned, well, I reckon half of Commercial Street. He was textiles. We got on really well with everyone. It was a big family. You had great police in Brick Lane. Rocky, who you know, and Steve. And it was, you know, it was a real community. It was incredible.
It was some years ago, I think it may be in the late 70s, when I happened at that time to be the editor of the local community newspaper called the Spitalfields News, which was funded by the then GLC, Greater London Council. And we used to print stories about local personalities and how the area was being affected by all the changes that were going on. And one of the features we had was interviewing local landlords of the of local pubs. And the Golden Heart was one of those pubs. Up to that time, I wasn't really a pub person. And that's the first time I met Sandra and Dennis. And since then, of course, got to know her very well. And we reached the stage now where we're just like family.
This has always been a pub where it don't matter who you are, you come in, and it was always a mix. There wasn't one set of people that ever used my pub. From the cleaners in the brewery to the managing director to the chairman. It didn't matter. You had all the porters in. We used to open at 6 o'clock in the morning. It was fantastic. You know, to just come in a pub, just take over a pub that you're not used to that kind of business, and then you're opening at 6 o'clock. It was like, oh, this is fantastic. You know, we used to do lots of brandy and coffees because it was their night time. They used to start work at 9 in the evening and go right through, you know, sometimes right through for a couple of days. All they did.
I lived in this house since approximately 1974. And to live actually on the site itself was, how am I going to? Well, people were living here prior to me coming here, and they coped with it. And I tell you, after a while, you can live with noise. And I used to go to bed at night and slept through the night without knowing the market was operating, which it did do. It went through the night. The buyers used to come up late afternoon, and it would go on through the night, you know, the selling of the veg and the fruit, etc. So we coped with that. It was all right, and you know, it was only about 5.5 day week market. It was open until Saturday 1 o'clock, closed Sunday. So we did have that one quiet day in the week.
We were the first pub in London to do the Beaujolais Nouveau breakfasts. That used to be fantastic. Everyone in the brewery used to come. I used to have Edith Pierre singing out loud. I used to do all the bar in French. I used to have 2 chefs upstairs cooking the breakfasts. That's around November the 18th. I might do it this year. Haven't done it for a few years. And that was fantastic. And everyone used to go back to work in Truman's and fall asleep. Yeah. But they still come back the next year. No, it was great, great, great. It was so hard. I mean, this area just died overnight. You know, all the tailors went, all the businesses closed, the brewery closed, the market. It was a desert island. And Dennis said, we have to leave. We cannot hold on here. We have to leave. And then he spoke to people in the brewery and they said, Den, you can have any pub you want, but you must leave the Golden Heart. I said, Den, I'm not going. No way. I couldn't. I mean, I just couldn't leave. So for 8 years we had no business. I used to do it all on my own, all the cleaning, no staff. But, you know, you get through it. And then a few shops started opening in Lamb Street. One in particular was a girl called, I think you've met her, Trusha. She had a 60s shop. And when she first came in here, there was 3 people in the saloon bar.
This was in 1992. Actually, it was probably spring, and I went into a pub, because I remember it was daylight. I don't think it was lunchtime. I went for a drink, so it must have been later. And it was empty. There was just Sandra behind the bar and a drunk person passed out at the bar. And I will never forget that day.
And me and her got chatting, and I think she liked me. Well, she must do, because we're still best mates.
You know, and I thought, actually, I don't know what I thought. I was a bit like stunned. I was a bit amazed. I was like, who is this person, you know? And then from that day on, I went in every day. We just drank in there, and I had staff, and we were just in there all the time. Every night, in fact.
She sort of liked me, and, you know, very talented girl, and that's when it all really started, you know, kicking off. I mean, we used to spend most of our time on the pool table dancing. I don't think I hula hooped on there. I'm not quite sure. I'll have to ask Truth.
On the pool table.
Yeah, and then you had Andrew and Andreas. They knew every time I rang their bell, which was not often because you don't do that. But I used to ring their bell and go up there and have a cup of tea, and that was lovely. It was great.
Sandra was actually the 80th most influential person in the art world, but at that time it was like the height for the YBAs and everything. So you had me, Jake and Dinos, Sarah Lucas, Carafwyn Evans, Carl Friedman, Gilbert and George. Gilbert and George have always been drinking in there. Gilbert and George drank in there when nobody drank in there. After the market closed, there was nobody going in there. Gilbert and George went in there and they were like Sandra's only customers.
Oh, I suppose for 29 years. But they're just lovely, soft people, soft, gentle, very kind.
Then Gilbert and George had technicians that worked for them, like as in Jake and Dinos, for example. And so a lot of Sandra's success isn't owed exactly just to Gilbert and George, but they must really take a lot of credit, because Sandra, when the market closed, Sandra just, I mean, her and Dennis really should have just been totally bankrupt. And Sandra always says if it wasn't for the artists, the pub would have died.
I told David they'd be blunt. I just get on with them. I think they feel safe in here because they're quite laid-back, gentle people. But they get on with everyone. I mean, it doesn't matter what job you do, Phil. I mean, it's about people. You know, I can't speak highly about all the people that I know that come in here, and I find them so kind to me. And, you know, it's been a big part of my life. Rose was this old lady that used to come in, scarf, cigarette hanging out. And you know when you really like someone, I fell in love with her. I mean, she was fantastic. You couldn't understand what she said, but I did. You know, I used to make myself understand her. Rose could do anything in here. She was such a character. She used to go around the table and steal everyone's cigarettes in the bag. One Sunday I was really busy in here, I was on my own. And there would be Rose, clunk click with the shoes. And she would pick up all the glasses, slam them on the bar, pick the ashtrays, throw them all over me. But I didn't care, Rose could do anything. I love Rose, you know. And then we had Lawrence that used to come in, and I used to say to Lawrence, "Oh, Lawrence, what a great wife she'd make for you." "Don't insult me," he used to say, "don't insult me." I used to say, "Lawrence, she'd be fabulous for you." "She's too old." Because I used to take Lawrence out 1, 2 in the morning to different parties. He was 80, I used to take him out. We used to have great times.
Took me to Whitstable one year, took me to the Carvery in Harrods, and she treats me very well, treats me very well. And when I've been ill, she came to visit me in hospital, and everybody knows Sandra. And when she came in the ward each time, everybody knows Sandra. Everybody stood up. And the nurses were upset because some people split their stitches.
Who's your best mate? You like it in there, don't you? Likes it in there. First time, babe.
I was in a lot of trouble for various reasons over the years, on and off, you know. And Sandra was always, always there, and she still is.
When I was ill, Sandra come round my house. She had my keys to my house. She'd come round, make me food, bring it up to me in bed and everything. When I'm away, because I travel a lot, Sandra will always call me. Sometimes she sends me little cards.
Well, she was obviously a very warm person and very sociable, which I think you have to be when you're serving behind the bar in the pub. And over the years, we got to know each other on a more intimate basis, you know, very, very friendly. There's evenings sometimes when Sandra comes up here for a coffee or a drink, whatever, and we chat over things. And then going over to the pub, of course, and then meeting out with her and also other local friends. It was a great meeting place.
Here, come here. Here. I took my jacket to the invisible menders to be repaired. And the next week, I went round the corner and I couldn't find the bleeding place.
I don't know. I can't chill out. Isn't it terrible? I mean, if I go out with friends, dinner or to a bar and just, you know, just relax and have a couple of drinks and a chat and, you know, I feel quite sleepy then, and that's my way of chilling out, being with friends, or if I go to my neighbours, that's quite chilling because I'm not working and I haven't got to look around me and worry that someone wants serving. Yeah, but I don't chill out really. I'm always dashing about everywhere, you know I am.
I can't stand it, Phil. Oh, me lovely. I had all this last night. They're tormenting me, I think. Right, that can't be on there. I had to go and get the water now and clean it. You're fabulous. Right, go on. I'm going over there now.
I love it. Oh, that's when I feel totally in another planet because I love hula hooping. You know, everyone played hopscotch and everyone hula hooped. It's sort of come back to me and, you know, I'm quite good at it. I love being a Catholic. I love the whole thing about it. I love the guilt. I love everything about being a Catholic. And sometimes when I'm crazy, I sing all my hymns in here.